Welcome to the Active Investor podcast set. We're going to do something a little different today because we're introducing my new book, Plan to Not Pay Taxes. And I was pretty excited about the reception that the first book, The Business Godfather Treatment, got from you. And, that was fun to write. And it was really written for small business owners and about the day-to-day management of small businesses. And for a follow-up, and it had such a good reception and was on the Amazon bestseller list for small business books, I said, what would be most attractive to small business owners? And the more I thought about it, one of the things I know that people love to talk about more than anything is taxes. And everyone loves to complain about taxes. Everyone loves to figure out how can they get around paying taxes. And really, if you think about it from an intellectual exercise, for all your hobbies that you have, the most productive hobby you could have is figuring out how to pay less in taxes, because that actually provides you with bottom line results. More than your golf game, more than reading books or playing cards or anything else you might want to do with your spare time. If you can wrap your brain around how can I play by the rules and pay less taxes, that's a productive way for you to use your time, energy, and effort. And part of the inspiration for this was back in the day, I used to have business owners come into me all the time and say, how do I not pay taxes? And I'd say, that's easy, just don't make any money. And that in the day, that was really it, because if you make money, the basic setup of the rules these days is if you make money, the government wants to take their piece. And everyone hates writing that check. It doesn't matter whether you don't even pay much taxes. People that are in the 5 or 10% tax bracket still complain about taxes. If you're in the 40% tax bracket, then you really complain about taxes. And so part of this is really, how do you keep more of what you got? And, as a business owner, that's what it's all about, because it's not really what you make, it's really what you keep. And if we can eliminate our number one expense, and the number one expense for every business, the number one expense for every individual is your tax bill. And if we could eliminate that tax bill, how much better would your life be? And so part of this is recognize when I say that to some people that are really conservative, they freak out and they say, I don't want to go to jail, or that sounds like something dodgy, that sounds like a problem. Everything we talk about in Plan to Not Pay Taxes is perfectly legal, totally sanctioned by your generous Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is a lot more reasonable than you would be if you wrote the tax code. And part of it is you have to realize who is really writing the tax code. It's not the folks in Congress. It's the lobbyists that are handing folks in Congress what they want in the tax code. And who's paying the lobbyists? It's the wealthy people that are looking for ways to reduce their tax bill. And so there's been great opportunities set up in the tax code for you not to pay taxes legally, above board, totally sanctioned by your government. Now, they're not putting these out on billboards. They're not blasting it across the internet. They're basically trying to keep it quiet so that a select few can take advantage of it. And so in Plan to Not Pay Taxes, I give you a totally legal way to avoid taxes for over half of your adult life. And so it's incredibly powerful. And I think if you enjoy beating the game and winning the game, then not paying taxes is probably the best way that you can play the game of the U.S. tax code. And in the book, we go into some different strategies that you can use once you start positioning your money to not pay taxes, put it in a tax-free circumstance. And so I get into talking about what does it take to really build a success plan. And then from that success plan, how do you start positioning your money away from taxable investments, away from tax-deferred investments, and putting them into tax-free investments? Because that's where you're going to get the absolute best return going forward. And part of this is recognizing, we've all been conditioned to use passive investments. And this is the Active Investor podcast. And so what we want to do is move away from passive investments and start using active investments, because we're going to get much better return. A passive investment, maybe you'll get single-digit returns if you're lucky. As an active investor, you're expecting to make double-digit returns. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% on your money if it's a business that you're actively involved in. If it's managing a cash flow business, if it's running a real estate investment business, if it's doing angel investing. There's a number of business models that I highlight in Plan to Not Pay Taxes that you can fund using your tax-free assets. And we talk about the mechanics of setting that up and putting a plan together for your wealth side so that you can start preparing over time to not pay taxes for the second half of your life. And I think for those of you who don't like paying the bills, and even though you believe that you're a patriot and you don't enjoy paying that, guess what? You don't have to if you follow the rules that are laid out by your Uncle Sam. And so in Plan to Not Pay Taxes, we're going to walk you through what the mechanics of that looks like and give you some ideas as to what businesses you can invest in for the rest of your life. And most importantly, we go through a number of different scenarios where you can start building up the capital you need. And for some people, it'll be $100,000. Some people will be several $1 million that you can use across multiple tax-free strategies. And so there's no better way for you to spend your time and your intellectual capacity than to be figuring out, how can I save money on taxes? And with Plan to Not Pay Taxes, you're going to get an immediate return. But more importantly, you're going to know something that not many people take advantage of, and you can start using to benefit you and your family for the rest of their lives.